Imagine the first person to ever fall asleep and then wake up. Imagine what they were thinking when they drifted off and then they woke up feeling refreshed. Imagine they were like, Alan, trust me. Hey, man, I know this is going to sound weird as hell. This is all you got to do. This is it.
You don't know how to communicate effectively. You don't know how to be vulnerable. You don't know how to use your iPhone. You don't know how to buy things on Amazon. You don't know how. If you don't know how to do anything, you are completely controllable.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode number 1699, How Comfortable Are You with Your Biggest Weakness? Today, for episode number 1700, episode 1700, Every Change Starts in the Imagination. So when Alan and I meet on Monday, we usually say, hey, how was your weekend? What'd you learn? What'd you do? Usually what'd you learn, not what'd you do. And then stuff comes from that. And I said, dude, I watched a movie from 1980, and my goodness, was it different. In many ways, comedy ways, moral and ethical ways, just many technological ways, many, many different ways. I said, it is wild. I watched Airplane. And it is funny.
It's from actually 1980? It came out in 1980?
Yeah, the movie came out in 1980.
44 years.
44 years ago.
That's a lot can change in 44 years.
You know what made me sad? It always makes me sad when I watch old movies is many of the people in that movie are probably no longer with us.
Yeah.
That makes me sad.
Yeah. 44 years, man.
It's a longish time.
In technology years, that's way more than 44 years.
Well, it's very clear when watching this movie because there's no computer-generated images. There's no CGI. It's all just pretty much what you see is what you get.
Point and shoot. Your iPhone is significantly better than the camera.
1,000%. 1,000%. It was really good, though, because it gave me a lot of perspective of how far things have come in 44 years. It seems like a long time on one hand, but it also doesn't seem like a long time on the other hand. It really depends. So Tara and I tried to watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and we watched the first episode, and I was like, I don't know if I want this. I don't know if I want to watch this. And I said, isn't it wild that was only 19 years ago? And she said, yeah, that is weird, but isn't it also weird how it's been 19 years at the same time? And I said, yeah, that is weird. So it was a very interesting weekend for me going back.
And remember, shows start off rough. That was a pilot.
Yeah, but there was some low-key racism in it that I was like, I don't know if I can't.
Yeah, fair.
I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
I'm not making that wrong. I think that's a good choice. I've always found it fascinating because we're watching House MD, and there's some stuff in that too.
Of course.
But the first season is tough. Emily and I said, it gets better. They need to get their groove. I mean, you know the deal. We started a podcast. We eventually figure out, the cast needs to get a groove going. The writers, we're in season 4 right now, halfway through. I said it peaks at the tail end of season 6, and then it's all downhill from there. It does. It gets worse. A lot of shows get worse eventually. I think Friends did that too. I think Friends peaked around 7. And then the last 3 seasons were kind of...
I've never watched Friends like you. Parks and Rec, the first season, the main character, Leslie Knope, they almost didn't greenlight it because she seemed to... I don't remember the word they used, but she pretty much didn't seem intelligent enough, I think, is what the feedback they got was.
The actress or the character?
Character.
Yeah.
She's very intelligent. Yeah, she seems very, very intelligent. Never met her personally, nor do I know almost anything about her, but she does seem like a very intelligent individual. All right, so why are we doing this episode? Because Alan had when we were talking about this, he said, I did something in book club very, very similar to what you're talking about, the time perspective thing, how things change, imagination. And I said, all right, let's do an episode on that. And I said, I can connect the fact that I watched a couple older shows for context, but why did you want to do this episode?
In book club, it was awesome. We had probably 15 people there.
15,000 people. You hear that? 15,000.
15,000 members of book club. No, I think there was 15 people there, which was awesome because, again, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel I thought was going to be a dud. It is not a dud. I love the Morgan. Book, but it tends to be more. Wow, it tends to be Morgan. It tends to be boring.
I did say Morgan as you were saying that. I was just saying, if Morgan, if you're listening, we apologize. Alan apologizes for calling your book a potential dud.
He does. I love the book.
Same,
but I don't think most people will find it exciting. It is boring material at times. Okay, so in book club, I said, all right, we're in the Zoom room, all of us. I want you to imagine this Zoom room, just this room. We're going back in time 100 years right now. And I said, it's 1924. Okay, and we're going to show this iPhone 14 to random strangers on the street. We're just going to, hey, how's it going? My name's Alan. Hey, how are ya? I don't know why I get obnoxious and fake things. Have you ever seen the new iPhone 14? And they'd say, iPhone? What's an iPhone? And you say, the iPhone. And they go, no. Apple.
The fruit?
No. Yeah, the fruit, the apple, the fruit. Well, what is it? It's a phone. So you call people with it? Really? Interesting. You call people with it. Okay. Apps? You use like apps on your... What's an app? Well, it's a web... It's connected to the internet. Well, what's the internet? Well, emails? You do emails? Electronic mail? You know how you get mail and it's like that, but through the waves of the space and time? Okay. And text. You text your friends? Text. What's text? Well, you use a keyboard. What's a keyboard? You just couldn't explain anything because all of these are invented concepts. And so what's the point of this episode other than Kevin and Alan just talking about a bunch of nonsense? The truth of the matter is all of those things are invented concepts. And what I was trying to get to land in book club is this idea that the iPhone was always possible. We just didn't know how to create it yet. Electricity was always possible. We just didn't know how to make it yet. Amazon was always possible. Amazon.com was always possible. We just didn't know. So accumulated wisdom, accumulated knowledge, accumulated learning. So everything you see around you, the camera that I'm on right now, the web service StreamYard, the lights in this office, my whiteboard, all of this was always possible. But human consciousness needed to learn how to create it. And so why does any of that matter? I said this in book club. I'll say it here. Excuse me, I have to burp. I remember growing up and not no one, I was always the most curious. That's been a theme in my life until I met Emilia. She is more curious than me, hands down. She needs to know everything. She has to know everything. She wants to know how everything works. I'm very similar. When we first met, we made a joke of I don't just want to know, I effing need to know. And Kev, I'm curious, you know that. I'm always asking you stuff.
Always.
I ask you more things than anyone else ever has. I probably ask you more questions than anyone else combined, to be honest.
I would say
like
so.
All the other people combined. The reason why is I have to know everything. Now, is that a defense mechanism? Is that because I want to be smart? Is that because I want to be significant? Is that because I want to add value and change the world? Is that because I want to contribute and have impact? I think it's all of it. And I want control over my own life. And if I don't know how things work and why they work, I don't have control of anything. To me, intelligence is the most important thing. Let me prove it. If you are unintelligent, aka you don't know anything, you are in control of nothing. If you don't know anything, you don't know how to drive a car, you don't know how to build a house, you don't know how to change your tire, you don't know how to connect to the internet, you don't know how to use a keyboard, you don't know how to type, you don't know how to learn, you don't know how to read, you don't know how to communicate effectively, you don't know how to be vulnerable, you don't know how to use your iPhone, you don't know how to buy things on Amazon, you don't know how. If you don't know how to do anything, you are completely controllable. I don't want anyone to feel out of control in their own life. So I set out on this mission to empower people through knowledge. Knowledge is not power, it's potential power. But it is potential power. And I'd rather you know and not do it than not know and not have an option. So some people are just ignorant. They don't know, and there's no one out there teaching them, and they're powerless because of it. And I can't stand that. And that's why I believe in something called open source knowledge. NLU, Next Level University, is open source knowledge. All of this is free. We are literally donating our time for free for anyone on the planet who has an internet connection, who knows how to listen to a podcast. I think of that kid who needs to know more about how life works, needs to know more about themselves, needs to know how technology works and where the economy is going. Half the reason I talk about the economy, everybody jokes on the NLU team of, here's Alan talking about the economy again.
The global economy.
The global economy. You need to know. The reason why is your future will not be bright if you don't have knowledge. And the whole point of this, going back in time thing, 1924, no one had any awareness what an app was, what a keyboard was, what the internet was, what a phone is. Maybe they did have, I don't think phones until the 50s. I don't know.
I'll find out.
The point is, brother, accumulated knowledge compounded over time is what has made everything we enjoy today possible. The AirPods you're listening to this in, the iPhone you're listening on, the app of Spotify, the app of iTunes, the LTE that you're using on your phone or the Bluetooth in your car, all of those are invented technologies by what? Smart people creating things. NLU listener, what is happening? I just wanted to jump in here and let you know, if you want to get to the next level faster, we have a free virtual monthly meetup at the first Thursday of every month, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can connect with like-minded people and become a bigger part of this amazing global community. The link to register will be in the show notes. Very last thing on my wild soliloquy. I used to say this in my speeches. Kev, I'll never, ever get rid of this.
Please. I know what it is.
You do know what it is. Cars were created and imagined when there were only horses. Airplanes were created and imagined when there was only cars. Space shuttles were created and imagined when there was only planes. Imagine what we're imagining now. There are people out there right now that are imagining things. Kevin and myself included, we've talked about things behind the scenes that you haven't seen yet. We've talked about new apps. We've talked about new ways to do sales prospecting. We've talked about the future of NLU. We've already created things in our imagination that no one else has ever seen before. And when those come to fruition, you'll see the physical. At one point, the Dreamliner was just a dream. At one point, this was just an idea in our heads. And we had to learn how to create it. And everything in life is like that. And so if you can get that, and you can understand that being intelligent and learning knowledge and learning is the key underneath that underpins everything that you create, you will change your entire future. There are people who start from nothing, and they change the world. And that is possible. It's possible. And the only way it's possible is by the accumulated curiosity compounded over time of learning how everything works and why it works that way. And that's what Next Level University is about, is how do we empower as many people as possible to create a bigger, better, brighter future through the accumulated wisdom that we've all learned over time. And fortunately, the world is becoming more and more and more open source. Whereas in the past, a lot of the haves and the have-nots, quote unquote, a lot of the people at the top, quote unquote, were hiding or hoarding, for lack of better phrasing, the knowledge, and only the Ivy League schools had the knowledge. Not anymore. You can take MIT courses for free.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
I told somebody that the other day, yeah.
Yeah, I remember I told Kev, you need to learn some math, and he took an MIT course. I'm like, dude, I don't know if that's where you should start.
I started like the very basics. Yeah, I found the very basics, and I started there.
Well, the one you showed me was, I think,
that was over my head.
Yeah, advanced limits. Yeah, but anyways, the opportunities are out there, and not all of us have the same potential, but we do have potential potential, and the only way to maximize it is through learning. And I think that learning underpins everything, but we don't give it the credit that it's owed. If people weren't learning, this iPhone wouldn't exist.
Nothing would. Nothing would.
Yeah.
In 1890, 1% of U.S. households owned at least one telephone. Telephone. Well, a majority did by 1946, and 75% did by 1957.
Okay, so they did know of a telephone,
in 1890.
But most people didn't have it. In this case, it was 1924, so right in the middle of the Great Depression is the analogy of 100 years ago. A lot changes in 100 years.
Well, here's the other thing, too. In 1890, 1% of U.S. households owned it, but did anybody else know about it? Some people probably didn't even know about it.
Yeah. Well, the only way information spread back then was through books and newspapers.
And the word on the street.
The word of the word on the street.
So, two things. You're very passionate about this, which I'm grateful for. I can tell this is one of your favorite things in the world, and I knew that. That's why you want to do the episode. I think going back to the episode that we did on fear of the monster in the closet isn't actually a monster. Learning and education is just like fear when you learn. So let's say you learn how to use a microphone. Now you know I know how to use this microphone. I know how to record something. Now I can do voiceovers. Now I can do a podcast. Now I can make music. Now I can read audiobooks. I can do ASMR videos. I can do anything that this is a byproduct of, or is a byproduct of this. Then if you learn how to use a video camera, you can record music videos, you can record yoga, meditations, you playing video games, whatever you want. Then if you learn how to edit the video, you can be a producer, you can do this, you can do this, but it all starts from that one thing, and then you grow and grow and grow. That's one thing. First point. Now, I don't want you to take all day on this question, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And if you take more than a minute, I'm going to can the entire episode, okay? What, from your perspective, is the greatest invention of all time? Besides me. That goes without saying.
That's so hard.
You have 2 seconds. I have a good time on these episodes.
Written language.
That's okay. I thought you were going to say the internet. I think it's fire. That's not really an invention, but...
No, it's the written word.
No. I think it's fire.
I would say that's...
You ever been out in the cold?
Very important invention.
You ever been out in the cold before? You think written word helped anybody? Fire, it, son. You know what I mean? You can have your words. That ain't it. Fire. Thank you.
That's how knowledge is transmitted, is through the written word.
I've heard that.
I know we got to go. There's a great movie called Gifted.
Okay.
And it's a neurosurgeon, based on a true story. Love movies based on a true story. And the mom, it's 1970s, and it's a young boy who is very wildly mistreated as a African-American boy in this white school system. And he bootstraps his way through school. It's such an inspiring film. It's called Gifted Hands. You can... who's the guy? Gooding Jr.?
Cuba Gooding Jr.
He plays it. It's magnificent. But the mom is a housekeeper in a professor's estate, and she goes into his library, and it's filled floor to ceiling with... It's the most inspiring library ever. And she said, "Excuse me," he comes over and "I've never seen my floor so clean. Thank you so much." And she's like, "Well, your last housekeeper just didn't do a good job." He said, "You're looking at him." That was me. So, but she said, "Did you read all these books?" And he said, "Yeah, most of them." And she was so inspired by that because she can't read. She was never taught how to read. It's just so inspiring. But I had that moment. African-American female in the 70s who can't read. Think about how little opportunity she actually has without that one skill. If you can read and you can write, you are in the beginning of being able to. And the only other thing that I do think is more important than reading and writing is arithmetic, which is just mathematics. If you learn math, you're good. If you learn computer science, if you actually sit down and learn computer science, you're good. I mean, the whole world needs computer scientists. So just be smart about it. And yes, I'm passionate about it because I want to see everyone have a bigger, better, brighter future. And this is the answer. Education and learning is always the answer. What else are you going to do, right?
Do I have time for a rebuttal for fire?
Of course.
Warmth. And cooking and warmth.
Very important.
Is it considered an invention if you discover it? No, right? Nobody invented fire. It's a discovery.
In a way, though, isn't it all discovery? You discover how to ride a horse. You didn't invent horses. You discover how to build a car.
Somebody had to put down the letters of the language.
That's fair. It's all invented. It's all uncovered, in a way. But that's a whole nother episode.
You imagine, I think about this often, okay? Imagine the first person to ever fall asleep and then wake up. Imagine what they were thinking when they drifted off. You know what I mean? Imagine that. They must have thought to themselves, it's taking me. It's taking me. And then they woke up feeling refreshed. Imagine. They were like, Alan, trust me. Hey, man, I know this is going to sound weird as hell. This is all you got to do. This is it. You know how you're always, I'm crying because I'm laughing so hard. You know how you're always so tired? Go lie down, close your eyes, and just wait. And then tomorrow you're going to wake up and you're going to be refreshed as shit. And then you do the same thing that night. And then you just do that forever, every night. You just sleep. We're going to call it sleep. Imagine
that. Brother,
yep.
Babies sleep a ton.
Babies don't know they're sleeping.
Fair.
Debunked right there. You remember when you were sleeping when you were a baby? Absolutely not. But honestly, that is definitely a hole in my. I didn't even think.
You didn't.
In my story, this person was 30 years old at this point, and they had never slept before. So I appreciate that.
By the way, they'd be dead.
I appreciate
100%. I think what is the record? 18 days without sleep and you die or something.
I appreciate you poking holes in it because that's actually going to be an important thing for me to be able to push back on in the future.
Okay,
I'm gonna stick
sounds
with fire.
Good.
Fire.
Don't quote me on the 18 days thing. I don't know how many days you need to go with. I don't know how many days it takes without sleep to die, but I know it's not 30 years. I'm certain of that.
Definitely lower than that for sure. Yeah. Okay. Anything you want to add?
Learning is everything.
Fire.
It just doesn't seem like it.
I'm serious when I've never thought of that person as a baby before. I'm not kidding.
I can't believe you think about that period. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I do.
You be you, and I love it.
Yeah.
But I've never thought about that once.
Well, yeah, but you and I are different people.
I know.
You ever thought about gravity taking a day off? Never, right?
No. Gravity's never going to take a day off.
You don't know that.
I do know that.
You think you know that.
Physics.
Look, people used to think a lot of things that they don't think anymore. Who knows? If gravity takes a day off, I'm going to be cursing at you as I float off into the ethers. I'll be saying, yo, you were wrong.
That's fine with me, my friend.
All right, we got to go. This is good. I enjoy this. Tomorrow for episode number...
I knew I should have lassoed myself to this pole.
I'm going to lasso myself to you. For episode number 1701, tomorrow's episode, what you say you value versus what you actually value. We talked about this on the meetup, but I also had a conversation with somebody about this recently where I can imagine it was very empowering for them to admit what they admitted. So we will talk about that tomorrow. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep on learning. Next Level Nation.